Welcome to the TOCA Backstage podcast. Join TOCA's Executive Director, Chris Wolf, in conversations with the artists and people behind the scenes of the Torrance Cultural Arts Foundation's performances and events.
Here we go. Hi, this is Chris Wolf. Welcome to another edition of TOCA Backstage. It is my great honor to be with Paul and Peter Luongo from the Langley Ukulele Ensemble, excuse me. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to join me. I do appreciate it.
It's our pleasure. This is great. Good to see you again, Chris.
Nice to see you. So for those that don't know, the Langley Ukulele Ensemble was part of a performance at the Armstrong Theatre. I think you opened up for Fang Yi.
Got it.
So we're glad to have you back. This time you're headlining. So tell me, where did the Langley Ukulele Ensemble start?
Well, I was born no, I'm kidding. Way back in 1983, I got an opportunity to work with the top group of kids in Langley, British Columbia, Canada. And the program that we teach, and was taught in those days in virtually every elementary school. We had more kids playing in school in Langley than they had playing in schools in Hawaii. We actually got an opportunity to work with the kids after school in what we called an honor group setting. So we set up 3-4 honor groups. The top group, we called the senior A group, used to meet and rehearse and do concerts, perform. I was given that group because the previous director, who had been there for about 4 years prior to my time, left the district and basically said, "You're now in charge." It was my second year of teaching. So I inherited the group, and from then, moving forward, I set goals for the kids of trying to get to places that would honor the instrument, where we could honor the instrument, where they could perform and they could share their music making with others. So we started performing around the community and then eventually into the region, throughout our province of British Columbia, started getting international into Seattle, Washington, in that area. And 5 years after I started, we had a goal of getting to Hawaii. 5 years later was our first visit to Hawaii in 1985. And we've taken it from there to the lofty heights that it's at now.
And so, if I understand the dynamic correctly, you're the father, Peter, or Paul is the son. Are you now handing it off, passing the torch?
Oh, that's a great question. I actually passed the torch off to Paul in 2013 when I retired as a school principal, and he started taking the ensemble right over from me, continued to bring them to Hawaii, continued to perform in the community with them. Paul's a former member. He was in the ensemble when I was a director, so he was one of my students. And in 2013, after having spent time as the director of the less advanced groups, he stepped into the role as the director of Senior A, the Langley Ensemble. Continued to work with him since then. So he's tenured. He's been doing it for ages. When I came the last time, Paul had just become a vice principal and wasn't able to bring the group in September. And we didn't want to turn down an opportunity to come to your venue and to Mitch's festival. So I looked at Paul and said, you know what? I haven't done the senior group's direction for a number of years, but I'd be happy to take the group to LA and give them a chance to perform for those folks. You know how that turned out, Chris. And when the opportunity was given to the group again, I said, Paul, you got to go. You're going to have a great time and the kids are going to love it.
And so, Paul, it's an interesting thing because you obviously are now an educator. You've taken on the role as the leader of this group. Was it kind of like Dad told you to? Was it something that you really wanted to do? How did you get involved?
Yeah, no, do you know what? It was throughout my I'd say my senior years in high school, we had the opportunity. There was a bit of a teaching program that organically came to be in our association, and I, from the age of 16, was every Saturday morning teaching seniors out at a community center out in New West, and that's where I kind of got my start in terms of the idea of teaching, obviously centered around the ukulele. And from there, as soon as I, graduated from high school in 2007, then took on the direction of the Senior B ensemble with another um, fellow ensemble member. And in my studying music, which is what I got my degree in initially, that's where the opportunity to teach alongside still learning and advancing myself as a violinist, and continue to obviously have a great passion for ukulele, and everything that it had provided me, which is creatively and in terms of the quaintness and the beauty of the instrument. It really, I think it started to skyrocket for me, and I saw the potential of what my trajectory could be, not just as a performer, but also in terms of education and the benefits I was seeing just in terms of the results kids would get when at a lesser, younger age, still providing excellent quality product in the end, and education around music, and becoming very literate in that way. And so it really started in 2007. It started to just go up from there. And I took a brief break when I transferred to the University of Victoria, and then came back, and I was coming home every weekend on a ferry, practicing violin in the washrooms, and teaching ukulele in my parents' basement with the Senior B group at the time. And when my dad announced he was retiring, I was doing the Senior B group just below. I was doing a couple groups actually, and it just seemed like a natural transition and an opportunity. And I felt like I could take it in a direction that was somewhat different, yet aligned with the values and the intentions of what the ensemble was built upon, as me as a member got to benefit from, but also see on both sides now was the next angle of it, to motivate the kids to be their best and to find excellence within themselves, and to guide them that way. So now we're 2020, is it 2026? I keep writing different calendars these days. I'm always looking ahead, but it's been now over 10 years where I've been doing Senior A. I've been over 15 years doing an ensemble as a director, and just the benefits of what music education and the ukulele can provide in kids. And that's where I've certainly found a lot of enjoyment from, and passion. So it's complemented my actual teaching, which I was teaching at an art school here in our local community out east in BC, and getting to complement the work I was doing from a young age in teaching seniors, to then teaching kids, to doing concert band, jazz band, choir, vocal jazz, and ukulele. So a really neat blend of things that I certainly am passionate about, and that's centered around music.
So,
Chris, he didn't get forced to do it. That's the
that
answer.
was the key, yeah. But I'm curious that you started out with the violin, or did you start out with the ukulele?
Started with violin at the age of 6, and I picked up ukulele in grade 6, and officially joined the association in grade 7. And from there, was able to audition and make it into the Senior A group, as my dad mentioned, through that process. So, yeah.
And Christian, I have to say, sorry, this is an incredibly talented young man, an incredible musician. So it was a blessing to have somebody of that talent and with his passion for music taking the ukulele, because it inspired other young boys in the community to play and to make music. Just saying.
Well, and I think one of the things that it interests me is you have a group of young people, and if somebody says, "Well, who wants to go see a bunch of kids play the ukulele?" What's your response to that?
You go ahead and start, Paul.
My dad actually has a better opening line with it, but you'll often get a lot of people saying, "Are you kidding me, really?" Or, "Oh, great, this is going to be a waste of an hour of my time," or, "This is going to be the longest next 2 hours," or whatever it might be. So yeah, that's the initial response.
Yeah, actually used to start the act by saying, "Okay, how many of you were forced to be here? Your wives made you come, or you're right." So you got these people putting up their hands. I was like, "Okay, for you, you probably thought you're going to hear 'Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star' on the ukulele. ukulele. And yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I. So we'll give them a bad rendition of "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," and then we'll say we're just kidding, and we'll break into the William Tell Overture or something by a classical artist that just absolutely blows them off their minds. They can't believe it. And then you start going through, and you've got everything from Guns N' Roses to Johnny B. Good and classical music, and the audience is sitting there going, "Wait a minute, I didn't expect this." So the great line, Chris, is you undersell and overdeliver, and that's exactly what we're doing every time we perform. Oh, what, ukuleles? You got to be kidding me! And then they hear what these folks do, and they go, "Oh, I never knew." And it's a great juxtaposition because one, you think of the instrument. It can't accomplish much. I mean, it's just four strings and a small little guitar-shaped instrument. And you think about young people. Oh, well, young people, they're not going to be able to do a whole lot. I mean, come on, they're young. And then you hear this combination of this small instrument and these young people who sound every bit professional in what they do with that small instrument. And the irony, you didn't think you were going to get much music out of an ukulele, and you didn't really believe that you were going to get this quality or this standard of musicianship from a group of kids. And yet you got the whole package right there.
Yeah, I have to say, I'm a, I guess, a convert to the ukulele. I had seen, it's funny, I took my wife to go see Jake Shimabukuro,
Yep.
and we go to the theater and we're sitting there and she goes, "So who are we seeing today?" And I said, "Jake Shimabukuro." And she goes, "And what does he do?" And I said, "Oh, he plays the ukulele." And she just gave me this look like she was about to kill me. And then, of course, she was blown away. So, and having seen your group previously, it's of that ilk where it's just like you don't expect the type of music and the quality of music to come out of, like you said, a little four-string instrument.
Yeah. I think that's part of, and interestingly enough, as an aside, I now have a group of adults. So Paul is working with the top student group that we have. I'm now directing. It's been a flip. I actually came back to teaching and have started working with the younger kids. But I also travel and work with a group of adults from all over North America who now perform very much in the same model as what Paul and I have done with the kids in Langley. Paul, myself, and others. And to be frank with you, that's one of the really neat things about this instrument is its key is that it's possible and makes possible lifelong learning. Like music is available to the youngest learner right through to the oldest. And there's no reason why you can't continue to play well into your retirement years. And there's no reason why you can't learn to play it at a really high standard right through your youth.
And Paul, what do you think is the attraction to the ukulele for people just getting into it?
As I transfer my phone, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is I'm so much lower than it should be. Do you know what the attraction that I think resonates most with people is the fact that we're in a position where, there we go, we're in a position where, like you kind of alluded to, the unexpected nature of what it can do, and although there are many method books out there, and there's certainly pedagogy out there, it's not an instrument like your westernized classical violin or your piano, where you have a conservatory and this and that. You have phenomenal musicians. You mentioned Jake. There's James Hill. You have these phenomenal talents that have taken an instrument and like blown people's minds, including myself, and inspired me. And you look at its untapped potential, and that's what these gentlemen and many others have started to do over the past decade or two. From Herb Oda as well, and you talk about Eddie Bush, all these different legends, to then put it there forth where you can do whatever it is you put your mind to. So for me, it was, as a violinist, I was like, oh, I wonder if Paganini, a Caprice, could be played on this. And here I am, doing the 24th Caprice on the ukulele. And it's, people, Vivaldi, why not summer? Why not winter? Why not spring, autumn? Like, you start looking at these complex works and you go, this instrument's just as capable with subtle adaptations of sorts, but it's just as capable, and certainly a beautiful instrument that can do so much more than, as we've already kind of discussed and my dad mentioned before. So that's what I think attracts people, is it allows for a lot of creative interpretation that can go above and beyond even what one would expect. And you can have fun doing it, because it can be very simple, it can be very complex, and everything in between.
I think lots of people, just the fact that it's a small instrument, that it looks like, well, this should be easy. I mean, look, it's small. The fact that you can put one finger down on a string and play 4 strings and get a chord, and you can accompany your singing right away. After this interview is done, I'm going to go off and lead a jam, a singing, strumming session with a bunch of adults here in my community. They're all keen to play. They're coming out. They're not expecting to ever turn professional, but you know what? This is a social activity. It's giving them a chance to try something and do something that is giving them pleasure in a group setting. They're getting up and out of their houses. It scratches all the itches for someone who's a senior. And if you're a kid and you're using it and you're being creative and you're learning and you're being challenged, well, now you put down your phone and now you've got an instrument, and now all of a sudden the activity you're engaged in is good for the mind, it's good for the soul, it's good for your social interactions as well, but it also challenges you as an individual. So it truly is an example of an instrument that can be all things for all people.
Well, and I think it's interesting that, I mean, if you're not from Hawaii or have a history of knowing about the instrument, it sort of has I guess not a good reputation, because it's like seen as just like this little thing you pluck on. But as we talked about, I mean, some great works have come from it. And I think that's one of the things about Mitch's festival, which you mentioned. You're coming at your performances at the end of the International Ukulele Festival at the center. It sort of gives people a chance to look at and appreciate the instrument, because I've seen some of the instruments that they sell there at the festival, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, and speaking of which, we were talking earlier before we started this about the instruments behind you, Peter.
Yeah.
The triangular ukulele.
Yeah. So in fact, that was the first instrument that I played. I think Paul had one as well when he first started. And that was a creation of the person who started the program here in Canada, in Eastern Canada, a gentleman named J. Chalmers Doan. And he had those instruments built by his father to start, because the traditional figure 8-shaped ones were coming from a factory that had a fire, and he couldn't get enough instruments for his students. So, the mother of invention is necessity, and he needed a class set of ukuleles. So the triangular shape, of course, I told you the story. We ended up in Hawaii, and the Hawaiian ukulele players looked right at me and said, "What is that thing?" And I said, "It's an ukulele." And they all looked at, no. So yeah, we this is 45 years. We're in our 46th year of teaching this program in Langley, and we've had some phenomenal musicians and some phenomenal kids go through music with this program and have phenomenal experiences. They've been to Japan, they've been all across the United States, across Canada. They've performed in Hawaii for, I don't know, almost 30 years. This has given them a life experience. The kids coming through our program are getting a life experience that they then utilize those life skills as they go on into careers. So we're not about creating a whole bunch of ukulele players. Probably the biggest vocation that comes out of our program is teachers. But they leave with a skill of being able to carry themselves with confidence and being able to speak. Chris, the last time we came, you remember in the lobby after the gathering, I don't know how much time you spent there watching the kids, but they had folks from all over California, all over the United States, speaking to them. And not one kid sort of shied away and said, well, I can't, no. Every kid, I'm here and I'm happy to have a conversation with you. Well, that's a skill that comes out of this program.
Well, I will say that I think the arts in general, whether it's playing the ukulele or acting or performing or singing or whatever, they have a transformative effect on young people. I know I used to teach acting, and at one time I was teaching at a Parks and Rec department, and uh, years later, one of the students that was in a show came up to me and goes, "You know, Chris," and I thought he was sort of being dramatic, but he goes, "You know, you saved my life
Hmm.
because if it wasn't for that program, I
Hmm.
don't know where I would be."
Hmm.
And I have to imagine you have had similar experiences where students have come up to you and said, you know, thank you.
Yeah, I'm hoping Paul gets the same experience. I'm sure he does. I've had it happen more often than not. I run into people still right now. I'll be in the community and someone will come up and say, you know, I never told you, but I want you to know how much of an impact it had. Probably the most powerful statement I've ever had made to me was a parent. Remember, we're teaching in public education, right? And offering music instruction in public education. So this is not a private school. Now, our program is after school now, but I had a mom come up to me and say, do you know, if not for the ukulele program that you introduced us to, there would never have been music in our lives. And our daughter is now a performer. Who knew? We, as her parents, didn't know that this was available, that music could be something that our children would have been engaged in. So, Chris, to your point, the importance of school music, of the arts in schools, is to, and Paul knows he was at a fine arts school as his first assignment. This is so critical that we don't deny every kid a chance, every child a chance to experience the arts, because the families aren't always going to know that this is an option. And if they can't afford them privately, there's an opportunity in public education to give them a chance to experience it, to grow it, and to then, where they desire it, to foster it and bring it forward.
Have you had a similar experience, Paul, where somebody, a past student came up to you and thanked you for your work?
Yeah, I think we're very blessed where the families that are involved. It is a association that, has volunteers, and the parents are a big part of that. And you know that the kids who are involved are seeing their parents invested, and the ones that are really there, they can see the benefits, and they are very gracious. They certainly share their gratitude. I know whether it's after a Again, you talk about the life enriching things. My dad mentioned the traveling and the places that the ensemble's gone over its 45 years. After some of the major trips we've gone on, you'll get kids coming up and they can't say anything else beyond thank you and how much this has changed their life or how much this has meant to them. The thank you letters, the thank you gifts from little things they've made, whether it's something drawn based, whether it's something where they've taken some kahui nuts and they've all signed them. If it's a book they've made of all the funny one-liners or little inside things, jokes, like I think the relational part of it has always been so meaningful. And that's where, this is not something they're mandated to have to take. They're choosing it. And they see the benefits of it, and they do this as a community. So the gratitude that's shown, I think, on all levels is something that, regularly comes. And I'm one, if it's there on a regular basis, or even if it's a one-off, it's something that does change, I think, a positive nature of it all, because like my dad alluded to, it's association based off of enrichment. It's based off of providing hope. It's based off of providing excellence and challenging everyone involved. And it's not always sunshine and rainbows, but more often than not, and a lot of the time, it's truly magnificent. The kids still talk fondly about their last experience in LA at Mitch's festival and the audience's response. You think about Hawaii and the 28 years of going to the Sheraton and performing as part of a beautiful community there, and the many family or ohana as we like to call them, that we've made over those years. And now we're going across seas now in just a few days' time to the UK, which the association and ensemble's never done before. So these are experiences kids will take with them. and memories that they'll have, and the gratitude always follows. The kids are very kind in that, and you'll get lots of positive stories, and whether they do become educators or go into business. I know last time that they were in LA, they met another former member and
Yes.
heard her story, and that you think about it, people coming, whether it's as a refugee and finding their way into a program that was just being offered, and to see where that led them and to where they are now.
Mhm.
There's been some very successful people, and success looks different for everyone, but it's the good people. It's how it's nurtured what's already in existence and what's flourished, and whether it's in public school music education things and experiences, or private, or both. This is just an augmentation of what I know our association and the ukulele and all of it together has helped encompass, which is to enrich the goodness in people and make the world a better place.
Chris, Paul just raised our last time there a young lady who lives in the area. She's a resident not far from where TOCA is. Came and saw me. She had been a former student. And she said, your line, she said, you saved my life. And I said, that's pretty dramatic. I actually said that to her. She said, no. She said, I was a Vietnamese boat child. And my parents were not in favor of me doing stuff. They wanted me to go to work as a 13-year-old girl, raise money, help the family. And I saw your group, and I saw the opportunity for me to be able to be there and to perform at that level. And I saw the skills that the other kids had, and I wanted to adopt those skills. Well, guess what? She she got through to grade 12, she graduated, got a scholarship to go into nursing, she's now right there in LA. She's teaching nursing. She's got her master's degree, is teaching nursing at one of the university hospitals right in your area. And she's saying, to this day, I'm grateful for the chance that music, the ukulele program, and this particular program gave me, so that I could be successful beyond going out and picking berries to help my family pay the bills. We have all kinds of kids that still invite us to their weddings. We have students who got married and their bridal parties were made up of kids who were in the ukulele group with them before. So, gratitude takes a number of forms, and there's the array of them. Just seeing that the friendships that started in this ensemble led to lifelong relationships is a great example of gratitude, because it means that the pebble that we as directors dropped into the water have resulted in all kinds of ripples going out to all kinds of places.
Well, that is amazing, and we could have a very long conversation about the importance of arts in schools, but we'll save that for another one. Um, so the Langley Ukulele Ensemble will be at the Armstrong Theatre on September 20th. I'm really curious, what is your hope that people walk away from after the concert? What do you want? What's your hope to impart on the audience? We'll start with you, Paul.
I think that just continuing off of what my dad and the blended group of ensemble members did the last time, it's the wowing them with the unexpected, inspiring them. I used the term enriching before. It's part of our motto, and enriching their lives through music, and giving them that. In the time, it might be the right moment where they feel like, as my dad mentioned with youth, they're that much more inspired and feeling good about where the world is going to be at with people such as these 20 or so kids. And then the other part of it too is just I mentioned the wow factor, the unexpected. So whether it's a Bohemian Rhapsody, or whether it's doing something on the instrumentally they didn't expect, to doing different genres and different renditions that feature the instrument in a unique way, but surprise them in a way that goes, the nicest compliment is when they go, I actually like your guys' version better than the original. And you're like, are you talking about like one of the most iconic rock songs, or one of the most iconic, pop tunes? And you're going, really? Okay, we'll take that. That's a win. So that's where people are wanting more. The expectations have already been lied. People know what to expect based on a couple of years ago. I think they're going to get a different show, a different experience, but it's going to be one that is very much in alignment with what my dad did with those kids 2 years ago, which is truly to enrich them and show them what we can do up here north in Canada.
And Peter, what's your hope?
Yeah, I have two hopes. The first is that the audience will, for me, I tend to look at a big picture, that the audience will walk away with a sense of hope. And why hope? Well, here are a group of young people who are displaying a high standard. I want to use the word a standard of excellence that they are adopting and taking on gladly, that they want to perform at the highest possible level, and that the audience will be part of watching that, coming from a small little instrument and a group of young people, and that they will go, who knew? Wow. The second is actually from the front side of the stage, the side of the stage that's facing out to the audience. Chris, I don't know that you and I shared this, or that I shared it with you, but those kids left LA the last time on cloud nine. The reaction of the audience to their performance left every single person in that group with a sense that they were meaningful people, that their self-esteem was so built up by the reaction. For me to say they felt loved sounds somewhat over the top, but they did. Your audience let them know that they were appreciated, that they appreciated the efforts of those kids, and they left going, yeah, we are doing something right, and this feels good, to the point where they want to come back to the theater. They want to come back to your community. They want to be back at the festival because of that experience from last time. Little quick story. We went out for dinner right after our performance. We went out for dinner before we left to head home. And we walked up to the restaurant, and a group of festival goers were sitting in the patio area of the restaurant. We came out of the restaurant and walked out on the sidewalk and passed by the patio. Spontaneously, all the people on the patio started clapping. And the kids looked at me and said, what's going on? And I looked at the kids and I said, they're clapping for you.
That's amazing. That's wonderful.
Right?
Well, again, come to the Langley Ukulele Ensemble on September 20th. Be inspired, be entertained, and be uplifted. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time. I certainly do appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Chris. I'll miss you this time, but Paul, you'll have a great time with this fella. He's a good guy.
I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Chris.